In this video, you will learn if our lives are predetermined by fate. 2. What is meant by a probable future. 3. How to know if you are on a positive path. Included in all of this is our ability to use free will and the law of attraction. I know this video will bring many questions to mind. Comment your questions below. I'm ready to answer all of them. Thank you to my key supporters who receive exclusive content on Patreon, as well as keep this channel going. KB Rocks, Kelly, Sunil, Julie, Stu18, Soups on Me, Gail, Cindy, Tina, Kelly, Tori, John, Lise590, Holly, Caitlin, Bigfeet30, and GMAC. If you want to receive exclusive content and one-on-one sessions with me, just head on over to patreon.com/thekey, the C-A-Y. Number 1. Are our lives predetermined? The short answer to this question is no. Our lives can't be predetermined because of free will. Free will is the ability to make our own choices in life, rather than being directed in every choice, and having no ability to make a choice for yourself. In exchange for free will, we have a veil of forgetfulness put over us upon birth. A bit more detailed answer to the question if our lives are predetermined includes each one of us pre-planning our lives before we were born. #life goals. The concept of goals includes predetermined life circumstances that we chose to put in our life before we were born, wherein we have to reach a goal to leave those life circumstances behind. Goals are usually quite challenging to reach and represent our largest struggles in life. The term, "this is my Everest," is a good way to know what goals you've planned. Goals can never be negative. For example, if you get in a fight with one of your friends, a life goal would not be to see that friend suffer. Actually, the life goal would probably be trying to work it out with a friend in a way that's loving and mutual. You probably planned that fight with your friend in order to learn a life lesson. Remember that anytime you have a challenge in your life, it is not punishment. You planned it to learn a lesson. But choices that we are presented will always be on our life path headed towards a goal. It is using free will which determines how we get there, and that involves separating timelines, which I'll get to next. Examples of goals in life include learning to love oneself unconditionally. The challenge in this goal could be living a life where you are mistreated and taught from a young age that you are less than and therefore only conditionally loved. Other examples could be learning to balance emotion with logic, where your life is either overly emotional, filled with drama, or filled with logic where emotion gets in the way. Or learning to empathize with other people. All goals have large roadblocks we must face and make the choice to lead with love in all actions in order to accomplish that goal. Let's move to the second topic. What are timelines? We need to step back for a moment and consider that linear time is a human concept. That means time starting at one point and only moving forward in a straight line is a human concept. Time is not a straight line. It actually resembles a ball of rubber bands. Each band is a different choice taken for the same event by the same person. Every option a person has when faced with any choice, large or small, actually starts a new branch of a timeline. Let's take a large event that happened in my own life. In 2018, I was driving home and a deer jumped through my driver's side window. Not the windshield, my driver's side window. Anybody who has any experience with deer know that I could have been fatally hurt in that instance. And although I was given the choice to stay or go, that is a different story for the purpose of talking about timelines. In choosing to stay in this timeline, I emerged from that car unscathed, without a scratch. There is another timeline where I have passed over and my family is going on without me. There are additional timelines where I was hurt in different ways, and those timelines progressed in a different way than this timeline I am living right now has progressed. Let me give you another example. My husband was scheduled to be at the Twin Towers on 9/11. The meeting was rescheduled at the last minute. This was a soul-level choice he made. Had he not made that choice, my life would be extremely different and on a very different timeline. His life would be going on in other timelines, but not this one. Both of those timelines actually exist concurrently with the one we are living right now. Understand that we have a vast amount of choices to make, and just because we made one choice does not mean that is the only timeline that exists. Quite literally, there are hundreds and thousands of different timelines splitting off from every choice that you make. When I got in the car accident, that was a soul choice. We make choices at the soul level every single day, many times a day, and don't even realize it. The choices that we make every day and that we are aware of are the choices that we control with our free will. We control our life through the choice of listening to our ego, our false self, or our intuition. It's not just big events that affect the timeline. Every single choice you make, from waking up and stepping out of bed to where you go during the day, who you speak with, even if you choose to chew gum or not, any choice that you make shifts your timeline slightly. The larger the choice, the larger the change, the more dramatic your timeline will move. A timeline can shift in either a positive direction or a negative direction depending on your choices. So let's recap what we've learned so far. We've learned that we pre-planned our life before we were born, but we also have the ability to use free will in order to reach goals that we've set. So no, our life is not predetermined. Many people never reach the goals that they set before they were born. Goals are large challenges that we have in our life. We could take an entire lifetime to reach a goal, or just a few weeks. It depends on the length of time it takes to learn a lesson. The lesson to be learned is usually based in leading your life with love and listening to your intuition. If you are interested in learning more about the difference between ego and intuition, watch my video on soul contracts and difficult relationships. I'll link it below in the description. We've learned that time is not a linear straight line moving forward. We've learned that time actually splits off with every single choice we make. So that means there are different versions of you living on different timelines who have made different choices than you have made on this one timeline. Let me repeat that again. So that means there are different versions of you living on different timelines who have made different choices than you have made on this one timeline. I did say that time resembles a ball of rubber bands, and there's a reason for that. Time intersects at certain points, which gives us the ability to move forward or backwards or jump timelines if we know how to do that. No, it does not take a car 88 miles an hour and lightning to jump timelines. But those were definitely some of the best movies ever made. If you agree with me, comment below and tell me which one was your favorite. 1, 2, or 3. The second one is personally my favorite. To go back and forth in time, or to jump timelines, really just takes our knowledge on how to do it. This is a topic I'm going to go deeper in on Patreon. If you're interested in knowing more about how intersecting time works, head over to Patreon and select any membership level. All membership levels give access to exclusive material. I also spoke about something called a probable timeline. The probable timeline is the one that will most likely happen. It has an 80% probability of you choosing it. The numbers that I'm about to give you in percentages are just the ones that I made up in order to give you a good idea of what the probability is for each. There's no scientific study on this. For example, when you wake up in the morning, will you go to work? Probably. But there's a chance that you could use your free will and choose something different. The less probable choice has about 15% chance of being chosen. For example, you wake up in the morning and decide to call in sick. This will shift your timeline just slightly. Then there's the impulsive timeline, which has about 5% chance of happening. You wake up in the morning and decide to quit your job. This will shift your timeline completely in a new direction. But you also have two other versions of you, the probable and the less probable, who are continuing on the timelines which you did not choose. These versions of you are still you at the soul level. This is where our linear concept of time does not fit. Our souls incarnate to learn as much as possible in this lifetime. This includes living separate lifetimes concurrently. We learn every angle of our life choices by doing this. When I'm doing readings for people and they ask me what is going to happen in their future, And I reply that I can't tell them for sure. They always look at me a little funny, but this is the reason why. It's because I'm seeing the probable timeline, the 80% timeline. If they continue on that timeline, this is what will happen. But it's not 100% for sure. Now, just to save time on this video, I'm going to move this topic over to Patreon as well and go in depth about the probable, less probable, and impulsive choices and how that changes our life, only because this video is getting a little long, and I know the viewers on YouTube like their videos short and quick and packed with information. So let's move on to the third question. How would you know if you're on a positive timeline or a negative timeline? When I have a reading with somebody, I'm able to feel their energetic vibration. And it's pretty easy for me to know if they're on a negative timeline or a positive timeline. But for people without the ability to read energetic vibrations, how do they know? The answer is really simple. The truth is, you just look around at your life and you think, am I happy or am I angry most of the time? Or somewhere in between. You look at the choices you've made in your life. Are they made out of love? Are the choices made coming from love for yourself and another person? Or do you find yourself making choices out of vengeance, anger, and feeling justified in your actions, even though they may have harmed somebody else in an emotional way or a physical way? This is where our egos get us in trouble. Our egos tell us harming another person is justified, when energetically, that action is keeping us in a negative timeline. You cannot be on a positive timeline when you are making choices that hurt yourself or somebody else, even if you feel justified in the action. You also can't be on your proper life path if you are in a negative timeline. Even people who are way off their life paths, submerged into negativity, people like career criminals or other people in our society that use power and revenge in order to create stance and wealth in their life, that is not on their life path. These people, along with you, have the same opportunity everybody else does, given to us by the universe and our spirit guides every single day. The universe and our spirit guides help us in a large way, even if we don't know what they're doing. So if we're on a negative timeline, which is off of our proper life path, we will get signs every day and opportunities every day to change into a more positive person with a more positive vibration. Then you will be able to move to a more positive timeline. And moving to a positive timeline means that you are moving closer or on to your life path. If you've realized that you are on a negative timeline, look around for the next opportunity for you to make a choice based from love and not from negativity. Let me give you an example. September 11th, 2001. We all know what happened that day. We all remember where we were when we found out the Twin Towers had been hit, and then subsequently the other buildings. In that time period, it would have been natural for humans to turn around and become very angry and very negative after that atrocity, tragedy happened. What really did happen? In the United States, there was so much positivity, love, and support for each other, regardless of race, wealth, job, where you live. Everybody was just American. And to branch out from the United States, everybody banded together as humans in positivity and love. By making the choice, by every single person making a choice to be positive and band together in unity and love, we raised our collective vibration to a very positive one. That choice changed our future, and let me explain why. On September 11th, 2001, our probable timeline was headed for a global conflict. You can call the conflict what you'd like, but we were headed for a global conflict. But because the entire country of the United States and others in other countries banded together in positivity and unity, which is the direct opposite of what had been happening leading up to this event, we changed timelines to a more positive one and avoided that global conflict and crisis. As a side note, 2001 did a lot of things to change the Nostradamus predictions. If you're interested how 2001 affected the Nostradamus predictions, leave me a comment below. An example in day-to-day life is if someone cut you off in traffic. You have many choices. Some people's probable choice would be honking and making obscene gestures at the other driver. Their less probable or impulsive choices would be based in love. If that person chooses an action that comes from love, for example, not taking any action toward that driver, and sending love their way because they're probably having a tough day. This will raise your vibration into a positive one and also shift you off of the negative timeline that you've been on. Timelines really are in existence, so our soul can learn everything possible in this lifetime, and that includes splitting off into multiple timelines, unaware of one another. If you have an instance of when you think you've jumped timelines, tell me your stories below in comments. I can't wait to read them. Now we know our lives are never predetermined. We have goals, but our choices determine our life circumstances and how we get to those goals. Time is not linear. And to know if you are on a positive or negative timeline, all we have to do is look around at our lives. Remember to leave me your comments and questions below. Like this video and subscribe by hitting the bell. Love, light, and laughter. Stacie.